Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, none of my buttons are working. Why? Why is there always some kind of chaos? If I was better at this, I would turn it into some kind of joke that there's always so much chaos happening here. But it's really not a joke. It's not intentional. It just does. It does that by itself. It's just my life. Welcome, guys. This is not a show. So when buttons don't work and things don't go right, it's just fun. It's the way it's supposed to be because it's a happy hour. It's an excuse for us to hang out together, to have a drink, to talk about whatever is happening in the world at large, the Cincinnati craft beer world, the craft spirits world, the drinking world of Cincinnati. And there's always plenty of things to talk about in that realm. I have a couple major things that I want to talk about. It's a couple not major. I mean, they're major depending on where you are in all of this. But definitely a couple things to talk about tonight, and definitely something fun to drink. You can see just the top of the can right here. Also, you can see the light, which you're not supposed to see. Put that like that. There we go. Again, it's not a show. If it was a show, I would apologize. Anyways, welcome, guys. If you're new to this thing, it is a live podcast. So if you happen to be picking this up via the podcast feed, that's fine, and we appreciate you. And that's still a great way to listen to it, especially if you miss it live. But the real joy comes from tuning in on Monday nights around 9:30-ish. How did we do? Oh, way late. I really thought I was going to hit it tonight. My kids are still awake, so that always makes things a little more interesting. I also think that we made, we made 5 different dinners tonight. 5. There's only 4 people that live in this house. Somehow there were 5 dinners made. That's how tonight has gone. So there was a lot of cleanup to do. We also were behind on a reading log, which is due tomorrow, so we had to read a whole bunch. It's just chaos in every wonderful way possible. Because it's a live happy hour, not a show. A big part of this is to tune in and tell other people what you're drinking. It doesn't have to be beer. You can drink whatever you want. We don't judge, but usually we're drinking something alcoholic together because that's fun. Marco's having a psychopathy. Not a huge surprise there. Marco drinks a lot of psychopathy because it's a great beer. Julia is having a Northwood Cider Violet after a super fun night at Higher Gravity for Speakeasy Night. That sounds like a good time. Julia says she's also using the Kick-Ass Psychopathy glasses from Psych Night. Best glassware I've had in a while. Love those things. I almost picked that one up tonight because it was sitting over there, but it was also sitting by the sink dirty, and I didn't feel like washing dishes before I went live, so I grabbed another one. I have it for... I mean, not that I'm the only one that drinks down here. My wife does drink down here occasionally, but usually it's just me. For one person drinking, the dishes pile up way faster than you would realize. The bar is a mess. I actually, in my head this morning when I was putting together my to-do list of things I needed to get done today, I almost wrote down to make a tasting video today, which would require the bar being clean, and I did not feel like cleaning the bar, so I just didn't do it. So maybe one of these days, I've got a couple fun beers that I really need to share with everybody. Speaking of beers that I need to share, let's see. Julia says Josh just got upstairs. He's having an alt beer from Westside, also a great choice. Lee is having a peanut butter hazelnut caramel chocolate cake stout by Hop and Frog. That feels like a joke. That feels like a style that cannot be a real thing. Peanut butter hazelnut caramel chocolate cake stout. It's probably delicious, but that's a lot of words. Christine says my favorite not show. Hi Noam. Hello Christine. Welcome everybody. Let's dive into a beer, which will also get me into my first topic that I want to talk about. Empty glass. All right. Let's see. We have a wooden cask beer. Now, I have to tell you that, full disclosure, Wooden Cask is a client of mine, which is why I have this beer early also, because I've been taking pictures of these and working on social media posts and all kinds of stuff about corruption and the upcoming Corruption Fest for what feels like a very long time now. And I've had these sitting here in the studio for a very long time, just begging to be drank, and I have not had time. I know that that's like the most ridiculous excuse ever, that you don't have time to drink a beer, but that's kind of where I'm at. This is one of the 6 variants of corruption that is being released at Corruption Fest this coming weekend. Again, full disclosure, client, there is a relationship there, just so you guys know. But I'm still super pumped about this event. It is a Cincy Beer Week event, which is a topic that we will also talk about later. But they are not only making 6 variants of corruption and putting them in cans in a mixed 6-pack, they're also releasing an additional set of variants that are draft only, which I'll go through all of those after we taste this. But you can still pre-order tickets, and they're cheaper if you pre-order them than if you just show up and go in there. And it comes with a 6-pack, I believe. All right, cracking it open. I hear my family upstairs, like, hooping and hollering and making all kinds of racket. They must be playing Roblox together. It sounds very Hoppin' Frog. Sounds amazing. I didn't say it didn't sound amazing. I just sounds like a joke style. I'm kind of like the George Carlin raspberry whole wheat fudge ice cream. Yes. Julia says, I'm so sad I'll be out of town October 5th, so I can't be there to get a 6-pack. Well, sorry. Maybe I'll hang on to some so you can try them. Probably not. All right. This is, oh, by the way, I guess I didn't say which one this was. This is the Maple Corruption. Let's see. It says, another great barrel-aged brew from Wooden Cask. Try them all. Not a lot of description on there other than that. If you look at the artwork, not that you guys will be able to see it very well on camera, in the background there's lots of little nods to the history of the building between the Flamingo Club, and there's probably some mobsters on here. Yeah, I love it. All right, let's dive in here. All right, it's a big dark stout. If you've never had any of Wooden Cask's Corruption before, this is super kind of bourbon forward a lot of the time. It's a boozy beer. This one clocks in, if it says on here, 11.5%. So yeah, it's a big beer. All right, let's see how mapley this is. Yeah, I get bourbon, like straight up, first and foremost in your face. Oh yeah, mapley booze. It's like if you took a bottle of New Riff bourbon and you jumped on an elk and rode it into the forest in Canada and sat on a stump. I feel like that's what this is. I've never done that, but I imagine this is what it smells like without the horse smell or the elk smell. Maybe an elk with some kind of barrier in between you and him so you don't have to smell him. Christine says, does Wooden Cask do a lot of barrel-aged stuff? I wouldn't say that's a tough question. Yes. So the Corruption, the original Corruption, which is just their bourbon barrel-aged stout, is always on tap. It's like a tap room staple. Like you can just go there and get it. At least I think it's always on tap. I don't think I've ever not seen it on there. So yeah, they kind of do a lot, but at the same time, different. They're not doing like lots of big like bottle release bourbon barrel aged things. like some places do. All right. Yeah, this does not smell like an elk. I don't even know what an elk smells like. Unless an elk smells like bourbon. You know what? This might smell like an elk. Like if an elk smells like bourbon. An elk that has been marinating in a bourbon barrel. We've gone down a very strange rabbit hole. Yeah, this smells great, especially as it's kind of opening up a little bit, and I'm getting kind of past some of the booze. You get that really great like sweetness. Like it definitely still reminds me of bourbon, but it doesn't remind me of like sticking your face in a glass of bourbon. It more reminds me of like being in a rick house. Like you smell it in the air, it's everywhere, but then there's this really great kind of woody thing going on too. That's what this smells like as a rick house. Oh, it smells good. Mmm. That's wonderful. Like most of the things Wooden Cask does, it's not over the top. It's not like it's not slapping you around with anything. It definitely has a lot of bourbon, a lot of booze, but then the maple comes in with this real kind of neat, kind of smooth, sweet finish. Like it's not like a candy bar. Like that is a great beer. That's one of those beers that like I'm usually, especially on a Monday night, I'm hesitant to kind of grab it off of a shelf here in the bar and just sit there and drink an 11.5% Imperial Stout by myself. It's hard to like, I don't know, motivate myself to do that some nights because I don't want that much. But every time I crack it open, there is no doubt in my mind I'm going to sit here and drink this whole thing tonight. I'm tempted to crack open another one, but that's probably pushing it. I probably shouldn't do that if I want to be productive tomorrow morning. Christine says, I see. It's cool that they have it year-round on tap, though. I'm a baby and need sweet stouts. Don't get me wrong, like especially this one right here, the maple. This is a sweet stout. It's a boozy sweet stout, though. And like part of what's fun about especially going to the tap room, like you don't have to get a big giant pour of something. You can get like a small kind of taster size of something, and you don't have to knock the whole thing back. You could get that and then also grab kind of an easy drinking beer, so you can kind of sip on this throughout the night while you're drinking something a little more normal. And that's perfectly acceptable. Nobody's going to judge you for that. Julia says, Corruption's base is, in my opinion, very well balanced for a barrel-aged beer. Not overly barrel tasting. If you get the chance, have your boyfriend come bring some cans to have your boyfriend grab some cans to bring to you. I agree. Boozy sweet I can do. Yeah, it is a great beer. It's definitely one of my favorite barrel-aged beers in the city. It's different than a lot of the other ones. I'm half pour queen. I'm all about half pours, all about it. So yeah, I definitely want to talk about Corruption Fest because I'm pretty pumped about it. It's a fun event for Wooden Cask because this beer I think is I think there's a lot of people in the city, a lot of stout fans that kind of forget about it because it is so normal for them to see Corruption. And now that they've got all these variants, I hope people are seeing it and seeing what they're doing. So they are doing in the 6-pack, and hang with me, we got a whole bunch to talk about here. In the 6-pack, you've got the original, which is just your standard base Corruption, and then they have a double barrel brownie, so it actually hit a second barrel. There's raspberry Corruption, coconut Corruption, coffee vanilla Corruption. That was the other one I almost opened tonight. And then maple Corruption. That's the one that we're drinking here. And then I have to look over here because there's no way I can remember all of these off the top of my head. We have the what I'm calling sub-variants. So not each, but there are 6 more variants of variants. You have the regular Corruption, this time with habaneros. I know that Julia is all about the spicy stouts. And there is the original with peanut butter. There is maple bacon, coffee vanilla with hazelnut, and there is a s'mores, and then raspberry with like orange, so like an orange raspberry something or other that I am really curious to try. I have become like a really big fan of orange in stouts. I'm curious about the raspberry too. Yeah, peanut butter. Again, the peanut butter is draft only. You're not going to be able to get. Julia says get a crowler. I don't know that you're going to be able to get a crowler. I don't know that is going to be a thing. Got to go to Corruption Fest. Orange raspberry sounds. Yeah, I think orange raspberry sounds. To me, that's probably the one that I'm most curious about. I'm all about coffee, and so any kind of coffee stout I think is going to be great. But I know it's going to be great, and I can kind of picture what it's going to taste like. So I'm probably most excited about that orange raspberry. So that's Corruption Fest. It's happening this weekend. If you want more details, just go to Wooden Cask's social media, and there's a post there with a link to pre-order, and you can get it for a little cheaper than if you just show up and wander upstairs to the event. And it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a don't miss, in my opinion. Which, speaking of, let's go ahead and let's just talk a little bit about Cincy Beer Week, because we are just a few days away now at this point, which is terrifying for me to think about. I've been frantically trying to keep up on all of the events and try to keep the calendar up to date. I will just kind of scroll through here, and I'll pick out some that I want to talk about. And some of these I might have talked about before, so I apologize. But on Friday, there is an event at the Bay Horse. I love the Bay Horse. If anybody has not been there, it's one of my favorite bars in town. And they are teaming up with Moreline for like a tap takeover. It also kicks off one of my favorite events that is happening the whole week, and that they're calling it the Heritage Bar Crawl. So Sinbev, Christian Moreline is probably what more people know them as. Sinbev, which owns Little Kings and Moreline and all of those historic brands. They are teaming up with the Bay Horse, Arnold's, and O'Malley's in the Alley, and they're doing like this bar crawl where you get a little card. No, you don't. You don't get a card. I stand corrected. We were going to do cards, and we didn't do cards. You go there. You go to each one of these bars throughout the week. You take a selfie at the bar inside, hopefully drinking a Little Kings or some kind of Moreline Sinbev product. I'm going to say Little Kings. You should get yourself a Little Kings. And you tag Sinbev on Instagram. You should probably tag the bar you're at too. And do that for all of them. And at the end of the week, you get some free swag. And I think it is so much fun. I think that it's like these perfect bars to kind of to represent some of those brands. Little Kings is where my heart rests. I love Little Kings. And these are all bars that it's perfect. They're all bars that sometimes I drink a Little Kings at. It's not true. I don't think I've ever gotten a Little Kings at the Bay Horse. I would, though. I usually drink Hootie Delight there, which I guess counts too. Yeah, I'm super, super excited about that event. Let's see. They're also doing buckets and Boilermakers, so some specials at Findlay Market with Little Kings. Third Eye is doing a flight special all week, so they are tapping all of their, or not all of their, tapping a bunch of their award-winning beers from the U.S. Open, and you can go in and for $10 you can get a whole flight of these award-winning beers. It's fun because this week, Beer Week ends at Great American Beer Festival weekend, so there will be another big awards event at the end of Beer Week, so... which, speaking of, they're also tapping their Mounds of Importance, which is a collaboration with Narrow Path, big award winner, at Great American Beer Festival. I believe that's still on tap. I think it's on tap at Narrow Path right now, too. I could be wrong on that, though. Um, I really am I'm skipping some of the actual events on here because I just want to pick out the things that I really want you to know about. There is a Blumpkin release. Yeah, you guys know I love Blumpkin. um, let's see. Moreline is tapping a new beer on Friday. You got Donna Schwab and Oktoberfest. I don't know that they know that that's a Beer Week event, but I put it on the calendar because it's definitely a Beer Week event. We're getting to some stuff here. Pumpkin Fest. There's a festival up in Middletown. On the 5th, on Saturday, Fresh Hop Festival is back. I'm getting there. I'm only on the 5th right now. Fresh Hop Festival is back at High Green. That's definitely on there. There is a bottle release at Third Eye on Saturday. There is, of course, Corruption Fest on Saturday. We talked about that. Darkness is doing a homebrewed beer competition. There's, let's see, we're moving. Some football watch parties on Sunday, the 6th. Oh, I'm super excited about this event too. Fibonacci is throwing a kind of a educational event. It's called Reinheitsgebot. Why is it important to Fibonacci Brewing Company and why we should break it? If you guys know Fibonacci and you know kind of their ethos behind kind of some of the beers they make, they do not often adhere to the Reinheitsgebot. And so it comes with like a flight, and I think it's a flight, and a discussion just kind of about the process in making the beers that they do and why they do it the way they do. And that's with their head brewer. So that'll be fun. There's going to be a bunch of tours and tastings all week at Braxton. Get on the calendar for all of those dates. Of course, on Monday the 7th, as Julia mentioned, there is a Women in Beer panel at Woodburn. Going to sit around and talk about women in beer with a bunch of really great women in beer. I'm super, super pumped about that one, too. That's going to be a good one. On Tuesday, Streetside's bringing back their beer school. Again, kind of a tour of the brewery, pulling some nails, drinking some beer. Julia says, I'm squirreling. What is that flight board to your left? It's a sad one, and we'll get to it later. It's another topic I want to cover. That's Dogberry. Beer school. There's some beer trivia throughout the week. I think we're on Wednesday now. Fabled is doing a Gnome Pale Ale special night. So they always keep a beer on tap that has some kind of gnome name to it. They're doing a special on that beer. All that day. There is Beer for Humans night. Darkness is throwing a beer dinner, so you got beer and food pairings. Mad Tree's Ascending Women's Series is that week. On Thursday, of course, Oktoberfest Quest finale out at Sonder. That's gonna happen. I'm not done yet, but that's gonna happen. In fact, I was supposed to order the rest of the trophy today, and I didn't, and so now I need to remember to do that. Yeah, that's I need to drink a whole bunch of Oktoberfest beer still. I'm done with round one, except for two showdowns. One, and then I found out that one of the beers that I was anticipating to be in cans is not in cans, so that messes up my count. So now I need to add something else in, but I think that's okay. I think I can figure that out. I think I know what we can add in. Dead Low is throwing their anniversary party on Friday, the 11th. Wiedemann is throwing their Oktoberfest on the 11th and the 12th. Urban Artifact is throwing what they call Oddtoberfest. It's their Halloween celebration and kind of a vendor market kind of thing. That's happening on Saturday. There is one other event from Urban that I know is on my list to add in here that it's not on here yet. So I can't tell you about that one because I don't know what it is. I mean, I do. It's some kind of talk about fruit. On Saturday the 12th, Big Sis release. This is a big one that I really want everybody to come to. We're releasing this year's Big Sis. Same recipe as last year and same idea, except we're going to change up the night a little bit. We're going to do kind of quick interviews, not a full podcast, but like a quick interview. Then we'll have some live music. Then we'll do another quick interview. We'll have some live music, another quick interview, then some live music. It's going to be kind of back and forth all evening. So the interviews will just get better as I get a few more beers in me throughout the night. So you should go to that one. That's going to be fun. And there's lots of trivias and paint and pints and things like that. Football watch parties, because Sunday the 13th is another Bengals game, big Bengals game. They are playing the Ravens, I believe. So there's a ton of stuff going on, and I want everybody to go to as much as they possibly can. I really hope to see people kind of out there all week trying to get to places that either they haven't been for a long time or they've never been to. I really want to see people out there kind of just having beers with each other and having fun drinking beer, because that's what makes all of this work, right? So since Julia mentioned the flight board, we'll go ahead and we'll talk about the kind of the sad news this week is Dogberry. As of today was their last official day of business. They closed at 8 p.m. I did make it this afternoon and hang out for a while and got some work done there. And it's sad. I stopped by this weekend too, and this weekend I think for me was sadder than today was. Today felt a little more I don't know, celebratory almost, whereas this weekend to me just it didn't feel happy at all. It was very sad being in there and knowing that it was coming to an end. They hold a very special place to me, just timing wise. When I was starting the blog was about the same time that they were starting. There's a few places like that, there's Old Firehouse was opening about that same time. Dogberry was opening. All these places just kind of hit right at the beginning of the blog and the podcast and things like that. When we started Cincy Brewcast, we were always in studio. And we had started kind of making plans to do these on-location shows and just do the whole thing in front of an audience. And we, the very first kind of test one that we did, we weren't sure if it was really going to work or not. So we figured we would just show up and we would record it. And if it sounded great, awesome. If it didn't work, we would scrap the idea and we would never do it again. And that was at Dogberry. I don't think we told anybody we were doing it. I think some people figured it out and showed up, but the tap room was packed and we had such a good time doing it. And I don't know if anybody remembers that old tap room, but there were a lot of desks. And if my memory serves correctly, we had like 2 folding tables that we sat together, and then we set up a couple of those desks too to build this other table since the whole place was full. The picnic tables were all taken, and it was fun. And we quickly followed that up with a live show at Listerman that was an official live show, and we told people we were going to be there. And those shows kind of changed the direction of what Cincy Brewcast was going to be. One of the many reasons that that Dogberry holds a very special place in my heart. And Tony never held back anything that he wanted to say on the show, for good or bad. And I anticipate we are scheduling another episode at some point here. And I anticipate it's going to be a good episode to kind of hear his thoughts on his closing thoughts on the Cincinnati beer scene. Oh, it'll be good. If anybody listened to the show we did in, it was probably 2020, I guess. The what I call the COVID episode. It was a heavy episode, and one of my favorite episodes of the show that I've ever done. So, stay tuned for that because it'll be fun. Christine says the Cincy Brewcast episode with Gemütlichkeit was hilarious. Thank you. I really, really enjoyed it. I was, it's always, you never know what you're going to walk into when we do these Oktoberfest shows. And as I was packing in the morning and knew it was going to be raining all day, then there was no chance we were going to find a spot that we could record outside. Outside is always ideal at these events because you can find a good quiet corner to record. I wasn't sure what it was going to sound like, what it was going to look like. We ended up getting a good little spot in the corner of the tap room. At a table that Elijah just happened to be sitting at, so you'll hear kind of some chatter with Elijah, who ended up playing producer for me. And I have the video. If I put it up, I'm not sure. The camera angle is terrible because we were stuck in the little corner there, and it was pretty crowded. There was literally a birthday party happening next to us, so I didn't want to set the camera up and have somebody knock it over. And it was, there's always something, but I think the episode was fun. I was a little concerned at how it was going to kind of come together conversationally, but you get those guys on there, and they're always good. They're always good for a conversation. They can carry their end of a conversation very well. Christine says, "I heard you try to fire Elijah." Yeah, well, you can't stay producer forever. He did have a very important job of hitting record and stopping record on the camera, so I didn't have to squeeze out from behind the table. He did a great job, and he told us about Jägermeister ingredients. Lisa, we saw you using the torch on Saturday. My family thought you were going to burn something down. We didn't burn anything down. I did. We poked a bunch of beers. We poked outside in the tent. Then I took it inside, and we poked some things sitting at a table inside too. It was fun. I actually was debating poking a beer tonight because it's still sitting over there after I unpacked everything. I shouldn't say unpacked everything. I unpacked most of my stuff. My camera bag still has mud all over it, and it's disgusting from being out in the weather all weekend. It was not the best weather, but as I probably said on the show, Lisa says, educate me on what is poked. Okay, I will show you. So the beer poker, Bierstacken, I believe is the technical term. It's a metal rod. Mine comes in 3 pieces, so you can easily fit it in your bag. And you can put a tap handle on the end. I just keep this little wooden handle. It all screws together like this, and you get a good metal rod. You can beat people with it, but the idea is you heat the end up. You take this and you shove it in a fire. I usually use a little camping stove or something. You use blowtorch, whatever. You heat that end up until it's glowing red hot, and then you take it and you plunge it down into your beer. And it caramelizes the sugar in the beer instantaneously. It makes it gives the head starts getting really big on the beer, and at that point you then pull the poker into the foam, and it caramelizes all the sugar in there, and it makes the perfect one for me, which this will probably be really good. The perfect one for me is kind of a dark beer, and then you just caramelize the crap out of the head of the beer, so it turns out kind of like a s'more. And they're delicious. They're absolutely delicious. And Julia says that Jaeger pokes need to be a thing. I'm pretty sure it's going to be disgusting, and I don't know what all that sugar would do. It would probably just solidify the entire thing. Maybe one of these days. Maybe one of these days we're all together drinking. We'll poke some Jaeger just to see what happens. I'm not doing it now if that's the implication here. So yeah, Dogberry's closed, which is very strange to say, but yes, Dogberry is closed. There is still no official word on if somebody else is going to take over. I think that is still kind of in the works, and still some negotiations happening, but we don't know. and I assume there's lots of NDAs in place until everything is finalized, which is one of the reasons we are not doing a show right now, because it just becomes very difficult to kind of talk around things. But as one closes, another one opens. Hearth Brewing is officially open, and I did stop out there and had I had everything. I drank all the beer. Yeah, I drank one of everything. I did a lot of samples, but I tried everything that they had on tap. And I did not eat there, though, which was a mistake on my part. I really wanted to try the food, but I also didn't want to overwhelm the kitchen. It was a little busy, but I tried everything. Really, really enjoyed a couple things. I enjoyed their pumpkin beer a whole bunch. They had a smoked lager that was great. They were very, very lager heavy, which I like. They only had when I was there. I know they're working on more, but they only had one IPA on tap, which I know is going to get a bunch of people riled up that they need their IPAs. But I thought it was great. I always enjoy stopping out there and getting to get to that part of town, because it's not a part of town that I get to that often. I ate dinner out at Fretboard since I was in the neighborhood, and that was great too. I think Hearth is going to do really, really well out there. They have a great space. When you walk in, there's this big giant fireplace in the middle, big comfy couches, big tables for families to kind of sit and gather. Good sized bar, a little loft kind of around the whole inside of the inside of the tap room, so you can have kind of a separate space if you want to rent it out or whatever. Really well thought out tap room, and I think that they're gonna do great. He says the concept is going to change my life if I started. The beer poker this time of year is perfect. If you find yourself kind of in cooler weather, sitting around a table, drinking beer, poking is just a really great way to kind of warm things up a little bit. You're not making your beer hot, but it definitely between having a fire going, something to heat up your poker. It's a fun little fall treat. I really do almost always keep it in my car all fall, winter, and even into the spring. Usually about Bachfest is when I stop poking. Bach is really great to poke. Stouts I think are the best though. Half of the fun is the experimentation of trying different beers and seeing what poking does to them, because sometimes it works really well, other times it doesn't really do much of anything, and other times it's terrible. So it's fun to keep trying different things. There's also the technique of poking. Sometimes you poke one really great and it turns out great, and then the very next one you just don't quite nail it. You don't poke it enough, or you get it too much in the beer and it warms your beer up, and there's an art form to it. So I encourage everyone to get a beer poker and poke their beers. Christine says smoothie sour plus poker, please. I've never done a smoothie sour. I've done a lot of urban beers, and they didn't turn out great. We did a seltzer, a very high alcohol seltzer that did not turn out great. I've poked wine. I thought the wine was going to be a lot better than it was. I feel like I need to do it with glue wine and get some good red wine with a bunch of spices in it and poke that and actually try to heat it up. I think that might work. Lee says we need a brewery here in the new commercial development going up around the huge Kroger in Mainville. Wooden Cask, get up here. Wooden Cask already has 2 locations in Kentucky. I can't imagine that they are in the market for a third one, but maybe. Christine says, yes, spiced wine sounds good. Yeah, I don't know why I've never thought to do a spiced wine. I think we just did just whatever wine we happened to be drinking at the time. We were probably drunk and decided to poke it. Usually what happens is anytime there's people that I'm drinking with here in the basement this time of year, something ends up getting poked. Just about any time we're drinking here at the house. Hanging out outside in other tap rooms and stuff, poking is sometimes a little bit iffy. You have to know that the people whose facility you're at are going to be okay with you creating an open fire. and it definitely draws attention, and you're going to get other people kind of crowding around and stuff, and you don't want anybody to get burned, and you don't want anybody to burn the building down. And so it's, you can't just show up to any tap room and start poking things. You got to either be outside or be, with somebody that is going to be okay, that trusts you. Marco says the new Kroger gas station opened last week. Where is this new Kroger development up there? I don't know. I know where the old Kroger was. Is it close by to that? I'm trying to picture in my head, and I can't think of where it is. Main villain 22 and 3. Okay. Marco says we can get to 3 breweries in less than 9 minutes. Cartridge, BC's, and Cellar Dweller. And you can get to a few more in not too much time past that. That's the thing. There aren't a lot of places in town that you can't get to a decent amount of breweries. He says by Shooters. That's where I was picturing. There was like that. Didn't there used to be some kind of like nursery or something over there too? It might still be there. Yeah, right. Shooters tells me where it is. I know where Shooters is. All of my markers are bars and breweries, liquor stores. All right, let's go ahead and wrap things up, guys. We'll try to keep this a little bit. Well, I guess not really that much shorter. It's still 45 minutes. Because I'm going to try to get some sleep because I'm exhausted, and this week's going to be busy. Next week obviously is going to be insane, and I need to be ready for that because I am not. As Julia says, rest in peace, Pete Rose. Here's my quick statement on Pete Rose. I think we all kind of know that Pete Rose was not the greatest human being in the world. And I will not defend him as a person at all, but he was an incredible baseball player, and he definitely deserves some kind of recognition for the baseball that he played. That's about it I'll say about him. But yeah, he was a great baseball player. Marco says they messed up Shooter's entrance. Julia says he was an asshole, but you have to acknowledge his baseball achievements. You don't have to. I respect anybody that refuses to acknowledge his baseball achievements just based on the type of person he is. Some of the accusations are pretty terrible, but to each their own. I try not to judge people as best as possible without knowing everything. Whatever. He was a good baseball player. Thank you guys for hanging out. Please make sure you go to CincyBeerWeek.com. There's going to be an email going out probably tomorrow that probably talks about most of the things that I just talked about with you guys tonight, some of the big events that I'm looking forward to. And I got to figure out a way to get some good feedback and stuff about this year too, because we're going to jump on planning next year's pretty quickly after we wrap up this year's and make sure that we have everything in place so that we can keep improving this thing and making sure it doesn't ever go away again, because that's just unacceptable. Why a city like Cincinnati would not have a beer week, I don't know. Thank you guys for hanging out. I know that there are lots of people around town that are trying to figure out some ways to help support the Asheville brewery scene. I don't know if people have seen some of the pictures of some of the flooding down there. It's insane, and they're some of the big breweries, they'll be fine. You know, the Sierra Nevadas and the New Belgiums, they've got enough power behind them that they can get things cleaned up and back up and running pretty quickly. But some of those smaller guys, I think, are going to have a really, really rough time of it. And we love a lot of those places. Highwire has a tap room here. Go have a Highwire beer. But there's definitely some stuff that some places around town are trying to figure out to find a way to support. And I'm sure I'll have more to say about that as I get some better things that we can do specifically. So stay tuned for that. Christine says, "Poor Highwire." Yeah, there's a lot of places that the Wedge down there, like right on the river. I love that place, and it's just completely underwater. And I don't know how you bounce back from that. There are some places that may never really recover from this. They may not be able to. It's not just like the money, which if you've got insurance or whatever, maybe you're fine. But the time involved in trying to get that coming back together. I mean, look at how devastating this fire was over at Mount Carmel and losing all of that product. And like it's hard. It's hard to bounce back from that. So yeah, just get out there and support breweries you love. Buy a North Carolina beer this week, maybe, and stay tuned for more ways that we can help. There's going to be something that we can put together. So stay tuned, and I appreciate you guys hanging out. We'll be back, and we'll do this again next week. That's what we do. Even when we pretend the show is not a show, is not even the show that is not a show, like we did last week. It wasn't a show, and it wasn't the show that is not a show. It was just some kind of weird, fun live thing. Even when we do that, we're here, we're around. I don't know what I'm going to do next week. I don't know where I'll be on Monday. I don't know if I'll just pop up and do something live. I do know where I'll be on Monday. I don't know yet how this is all going to shake out, but I anticipate that I will find a way to do something. I don't know yet. We'll see. We'll see how we do this. Stay tuned. It'll be exciting for all of us. We'll make it up as we go along because that is truly that's the way of the gnome. We just fly by the seat of our pants. Thank you guys. If you like this show, if you like any of the stuff that I do, go to thegnarlygnome.com/support and support that way. Thank you guys. We will see you later. I can officially say, without a doubt, that as of right now, Highwire is in round 2 of this year's Oktoberfest quest. They make it in because of the change in numbers. So, shout out to them.